again. Later that night, police found him on campus.
Just by sheer coincidence, I had made a traffic stop and he was driving that vehicle.
Captain Jeremy Polk was then a lieutenant for the UNT campus police. He pulled Bryant over early in the morning of August 24th.
I thought he was an intoxicated driver by the way he was driving, and that was my focus.
So right now I'm going to have to place you on, arrest. So good, you can just remain seated. It's all good.
Bryant was not over the legal limit. He was charged with a few outstanding traffic tickets, and they let him go. Later that same day, he was back on Caitlin's campus again.
He actually knocked on the door of my dorm room. He didn't know prior to where I lived. And he said, "Oh, your name was on the door."
Did that creep you out?
It did. At that point, I was scared.
Caitlin got him out of there and called campus police. Captain Polk recognized Bryant's name on the report and went along to interview Caitlin the next day.
She told us things like, I just did not like the way Charles spoke to me. I did not like the way he treated me, and I made that choice then and there. I would do everything I could to help her with this situation.
Polk issued a no trespass order, banning Charles Bryant from the UNT campus. But once again, Bryant would not take no for an answer.
The biggest fear I have as a police officer sometimes is emotion, because emotion drives people to do things you would never imagine.
It was my first day there, and he walked through the door, and my heart just dropped to the bottom of my stomach.
It was August 31st, 2016, a week since Charles Bryant had tracked Caitlin Mathis down at her new dorm. And now he was invading her space again, coming into her new restaurant on her first day of work.
I was like, "I just want you to leave."
What did he say to that?
He didn't really say anything. He looked upset. My new coworkers, they were like, "Yeah, he was here yesterday looking for you."
Caitlin asked her manager to keep Bryant out, but her manager said there was nothing he could do.
"I can't work here. I don't feel safe enough to work here."
Caitlin went back to her old job a half-hour's drive away. Her mother found it all hard to watch from a distance.
I said, "Come home." It was my motherly instinct to protect her, and in order to protect her, I had to have her with me.
But Caitlin thought she'd be safe in her dorm. A week later, on September 6th, what would have been their 3-month anniversary, Bryant was back, yet again.
He showed up to my dorm, knocked on my door, and at this point, I was shaking. I'm all alone. I actually hid in my suite mate's closet.
You hid?
Yes. When I was on the phone with the police, they were like, "We can't hear you, you need to speak up." And I was just afraid that he was gonna hear my voice. I did hear him say, "Caitlin, I know you're in there, just open up, I have something for you." And I'm like, "God, what do you have for me? I don't want it."
Bryant left flowers and a 2-page letter. When police arrived, he was gone.
I heard him say, "Hey, it's Charles, I have something for you."
You didn't know for sure it was him?
Yeah, I know it was him.
Sierra 27, myself, and 443 and a BI.
Police found him outside 10 minutes later.
You at school here?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Now in running clothes, and arrested him for trespassing.
Well, you know you're not supposed to be up there.
Bryant posted bond and was released within hours. Although Caitlin had already blocked him on her phone, email, and social media, he created a new email address and wrote to her later that same day. "Here I am, heartbroken and with a criminal record for bringing the girl I love flowers."
That's when it became really serious for me. If an actual physical arrest doesn't stop the behavior, then something is wrong.
Captain Polk helped Caitlin get an emergency protective order. And because Bryant had kept trying to reach her after his arrest,
How you doing, Charles? You have your ID with you?
Polk had his officers go to Bryant's house the next day and charge him yet again, this time for stalking. This was his 3rd arrest in 14 days.
I told him if he continued to communicate with Caitlin, I would use every email, I would use every text message. I would use every phone call as a reason to have him rearrested.
2 days later, Bryant posted a $5,000 bond and got out of jail.
He was telling his roommate that I was the crazy one in this relationship. So all of his friends were kind of coming at me, and they were like, "Why you need to like drop these charges against him?"
By September 13th, Bryant was back in Denton, just a half mile from Caitlin's dorm, in an area she had told him about back when they were still dating.
I was talking about going up to Fry Street and like meeting new people.
Bryant went to Fry Street Public House that night at about 7 p.m. An hour later, Jackie Vandagriff walked in, asked about a job, and ended up in a conversation with the bartender and Charles Bryant. About 45 minutes later, Jackie posted a message on her Twitter. "I'm glad I decided to get off Tinder and walk to a bar." Jackie's friend, Jackie Tan.
Jackie was a very social person. Whenever she went out, she would make friends with everybody. And it wasn't even flirty. It wasn't anything, you know? She was talking to the bartender, talking to other people.
At about 9 o'clock, Jackie left with Bryant and the bartender. She and Bryant went to another bar nearby and started talking to a group of women. By 9:45, it was raining and everyone was headed out. Jackie left with Charles Bryant.
I feel like she felt comfortable enough with him that night because she had been hanging out with him for so long that she was like, hey, well, whatever. He's just gonna drop me off. It's not that far, and I'll be good.
Once in his car, Bryant stopped at a convenience store. This was the last time Jackie Vandagriff was seen alive. The day after she was found dead, there was a new post on her Twitter. "Never knew I could feel like this."
It was just really bizarre.
Police suspected it was a message from her killer, and they knew they had to move quickly to ID the man Jackie had been with. They had some luck when they tracked down the women Jackie met that night.
One of the friends that was with her had gotten a business card from this person because he was a fitness instructor.
Now the Grapevine police had Charles Bryant's name. They learned about that restraining order.
So in my eyes, that played into him as being a good suspect.
Grapevine police called Captain Polk, who was in the middle of a road race.
The first thing he told me was Charles Bryant was their main suspect in Jackie's murder, and I immediately just sat down on a park bench in the middle of the race. It floored me.
Bryant was emerging as a strong suspect, but Grapevine police did not have physical evidence connecting him to Jackie's death. So for now, Bryant was free, and Polk was worried about what he might do next.
I called Caitlin and I just asked, "Where are you?"
I was like, "Does this have to do with the murder that happened in Grapevine?" And he's like, I can't specify that to you, Caitlin, but are you safe right now?"
And what did you say?
I said, "I think so."
She might have been wrong. In the days after Jackie's murder, Charles Bryant sent Caitlin several emails, including this picture, writing on it, "First kiss under this tree once upon a time." That photo was taken at Grapevine Lake.
He might have taken that picture that same day that Jackie was killed.
It was September 2016, and Caitlin Mathis, Charles Bryant's ex-girlfriend, was very worried he might have been involved in the brutal murder at Grapevine Lake just days before.
I was waiting for more news to come out, because at that point, they hadn't even arrested him yet.
Were you worried he was going to come after you?
I was. I thought that's exactly what he was going to do.
The emails and picture Bryant had recently sent Caitlin were proof that he was still thinking about her in the days after Jackie was killed. But they were also proof of something else.
It was prohibited for Charles to communicate with her in any manner, and that if he did, he would have been violating that order.